Good afternoon, everyone. Thank God it's Friday, huh? Good end of the week. Welcome, punters, dribblers, traders, and investors to the weekending podcast from Traders Community. We're going to go through the markets, where we sit at the end of the week, the levels we can expect for next week, what we're looking for going ahead and going through. We'll go through some of the trades today that we spoke about, on oil and gas and S&P, but also specific truck, stock and option plays being the end of the week. It was a nice, profitable week. I hope it was for everyone. A lot of predictable moves going on right now, as we can all see. So I got the glorious Madavi here. He's going to go through a couple of really awesome trades that you pick up on what goes on in more on the pro side of things, the hedge fund stuff. A little bit different to what you would expect. It'll make sense if it all makes sense to you, what goes on. So grab yourself a beer and chill, just as Bob is right there. Enjoy the end of the week. We were going to put a photo up of Elon, where he put one out of himself with Joe Rogan, having a blunt there. However, we thought Bob would be more appropriate and we wouldn't get sued. Anyway, here we go. Here's where we close the week. Let's blow that up a bit for you all. So here we are at the end of the week. Oil came back from the nadir to close just underneath the 100 at 97.97. We had all that news this week. Recall on the SPR release, the combined SPR release with the US and the IEA nations. So that's out there. We then, we'll go through that specifically when we talk to it, but you can see at the end of the week, we're still around 98. So hardly the fear of God didn't really get put in as expected. I'm not really sure what they're doing with their energy policy. So we had that. Yes, before we go, let's go to Natgas again. So we now have a triple top in play around between 245 and 645 and 650. It's been a long week. We close at 632. And if we go ahead and look at the stock markets, we did close just under that 200-day moving average on the daily basis on the SPX. We're at 44.91. The Russell closed at 2010. Vol bounced back a little bit at the end of the day to finish at 22.87. Basic was off for the week. Nasdaq 14.337. And without further ado, let's jump onto the SPOOs here. And we can see what we've been talking about. So this is the data. We're going to start off with the data because that's all we hear about at this point in time. On this 200-day moving average. And so I'm not a huge fan that it has much relevance other than people talking about it. Occasionally it's meaningful. But you can see we churned it here, all through here. When it's something that bounces off, it's worth watching, like this trend line. But you can see the 50 is more powerful, which is the green line. You can see how that held it all. So for mine, that's more relevant. You can see at the end of the week, though, we did close under the daily Tenkan, so it has to regather that. And we closed really more or less, let's just call it at the 200, close enough for that. But we held all this during the week. So the question is this an ABC with that low? And as you recall, we'll go to the weekly and show the significance of that. So this is an ABC to go higher, or is this the ABC, right, to go lower? So just simple, Elliot. So that's that base right there on the line on a weekly. It's the 50 and the Cajun. And you can see where we closed. So on the weekly level, we closed above all this. So that at least stays structured, positively structured. Let's go to the 240. So this was really a chop. We had that carry on from yesterday, long. Then it couldn't get back over that low that we built back at the start of the week on the 5th, I think. And you can see we couldn't get over it, rejected it, and we came down and spent most of the day just churning around this 240 Tenkan. So you can see just a lot of work being done. And, you know, it's really dependent on what the news is on Sunday night, probably to get a pull away on that. On the hourly, you can see that daily yesterday, and all this chop. Again, very messy, but you can see how you want to look for confluence. It couldn't get over this daily cloud, and so hourly cloud, and so much the same there, right across the board. So you can see your levels there are pretty defined. On the Dow Jones, almost identical to what we're seeing on the SPOOs. Right, this is the weekly. So you got all that support, and it couldn't get back over its 50. So actually, let's say it closed, so let's be close enough. Okay, let's bring on Madavi with the Nasdaq. He traded that today, and you can see that was much weaker than the SPOOs. It basically closed at its lows. And that we saw Apple and Microsoft just fail to rally. Growth was offered all week, ever since Brainard made his speech. So any thoughts there, mate?
Well, on the Nasdaq, I just basically stayed short until the time where I seen everything running up. I got stopped out, and then when I seen it was a failed rally, seeing Microsoft, Apple, and everything turn back around, I just shorted it again and just kept on adding to it until the close.
Yeah, that was a nice trade there. The complete opposite to the SPOOs. SPOOs was a lot of the components of the SPOOs are value rather than growth. So value just means, basically these are new words that we never really used too much before. So just think as growth is more speculative and reliant on ever-growing economy, but really value does too, right? It's just that they're more structured, better, fairly priced. So they tend to be your Walmarts. There was a bunch of them, BMY, all these sorts of stocks, right? So it's going on. So that is healthy in the sense that there isn't wholesale selling, and I saw some numbers from Bank of America. A lot of money came into the markets this week, or it might have been the week before, but I'm not sure how delayed the reporting is, but it was reported today. So there is an interesting game, and some wag said to me, well, the only way some people make money is trading stocks. So that may be true. And the theory was the government gets tax out of those people and they take all the risk. Well, sounds familiar and interesting, right? So that's the Nasdaq. The Russell, just weak as all week. Remember, once it spat this 2100, it came off all week. Weak as. And that's your higher growth, more speculative, smaller companies. And for an economy to be structurally strong, particularly in the US where it's service related, now a lot of small businesses. And this is probably a reflection of the way that the government looks after small business, etc. So let's look at crypto real quick, because that's been all over the news. Bitcoin pretty well closed at their lows after being a hot thing up at 48. There's been a lot of news with governments talking about regulation, digital coins. There was stuff on that today. There was a report with Musk and I think pretty sure Musk was involved, but Square and someone else about looking to mine through renewables. That was another topic du jour. Moving on to commodities, we'll get back to oil and gas at the end. So Alcoa, which is how we watch our aluminum, you can see on the weekly, on the weekly we saw that spike. And looking at that hourly, you can see it's doing all this work around minus 2/8. So a lot of support here. Underneath here, you got a few gaps. So if this is to be a bull flag like a lot of the other commodity plays, you would want it to get back over this 50 and hold it. But this is notorious for spikes. Look at this. So if you trade this, you take your profit. Or you short it. Take your pick. But look at this. So this is why we say beware of the dribbler and mentality, because they tend to get bullish, this stuff, on these spikes, right? Okay, let's look at gold. So gold, this is a daily. What's impressive of this is that this traded up near its highs, closed near its highs, right? And the US dollar was up all week. The US dollar's been, the US dollar index at least, has been up $7 or $8 straight. There's some feedback still coming through, mate. So we're back at this channel. See this little pennant? So if this accelerates, we get, that's your next level. This tanking up, the caging up here on the daily. If we look at the silver, it's still much different pattern. It needs to get back in here to be alive, and I think that channel's still relevant, even though there was so many bars above it. Okay. Copper, really sideways for quite a while now. This is daily, so you can see a week. It needs to, what we're looking at is you've got the tank and cross down through the caging, so that's not bullish. If that crashes through this, then we should expect a decent sell-off. It needs to get this to turn up, meaning the price would have to get over all this to go up. Let's see how the other commodities finish for the week. Corn.
PHIL is selling off, mate.
Which one?
PHIL.
Oh, the one we're short?
Yeah, the one shorted. I don't know if you're shorted too.
I actually covered just before we come on. But I boxed it, so.
Yeah, good.
Thanks, mate. Let me have a quick look. We'll look at that in a minute, punters, when we go through stocks. And a lot of these stocks we can talk through our rationality, us versus them sort of thing. So on corn, another strong week, really. We had this green bar. So this, again, I don't trade it. I watch it for ethanol and energy, etc. So keep an eye whether this is a topping pattern, which is more than likely, given it's got a rolling top, and there's this high here, and there's all these highs here, right? So beans, soybeans, nice reversal. You can see at the end of the week. Again, you got this downward trend line, so keep that in mind. Just keep these simple. Wheat, same pattern. You can see that someone's got their foot on all these, whether they're taking profit or hedging. But a lot of speculation got into these too high. So let's look at the stocks real quick. Start off with ARC Weekly. We're going to look at these other ones we talked about, but we're just going to look at the generals that go into the weekly. So ARC, let's go to an hourly. So you can see ARC, which is Cathy Wood, which is really, her opinions have been, as far as the energy markets go, they've got a lot to prove her right, a lot of work to do, because she's been very wrong there so far. So ARC W closed down near the lows of the week. We have reject come all the way from $72 on just on the 5th. So in 4 days, we've come from $72 down to $60. That's a massive move, right? So that's your ARC. NVIDIA also got whacked. So a lot of these are those growth or speculative stocks that everyone's in. And they're good companies, It's all relevant on price and whether there's people left to buy them, right? So look at this one. So this has come from $3.29 to $4.30. So 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 $3.29 what's that, $70 or $60. And just constant patterns. On this, you would see, here's the other thing. See these false breaks? That's what catches people. This is where all those dribbler stocks, they all averaged and they've all come down again, as we talked about the other day. But this is not a dribbler stock. This one just keeps failing. Amazon. Look at this. It just can't seem to get up from that big double top where the Bezos sold. And it looks like it's closed on the low. And that's the low since the 18th. So these are big sellers. And that's why the Nasdaq, see the difference? Like Madavi was saying, the Nasdaq closed down on that low is just weak all day, right? Okay, Apple, our last one. This thing, let me update that. So that looks like that hasn't been updated. So we're going to look at it again. But you can see it failed to rally and close down near the lows. This is yesterday. I'm not sure why that's not updating, but we'll do that in a sec. I should have rebooted. But again, it's just closing and it tested 170. So look what 170 is. It's all this churn. So we tested all this today. We're missing that data. We'll bring that up in a sec. Okay. Let's look at, so we did, and Walmart's the other one we watched. That continued on. Remember the whole theory on this? Continued on to 52-week highs. Maybe all-time highs. If we look at bonds, again, interest rates just up all day. Bonds down. Yields up. See where yields did? So this is the pressure. So two things to note on this. One, I noticed gold was up, but this is why the US dollar's up. The spread between different currencies in the forward margins, putting a bid under the US dollar, right? So that's going on. That's also why those stocks we just looked at, that on the bottom, like Amazon's and all that, they're a reflection of this. So as we've said 100 times, the bond market and the FX market are leading this. What did I just say? US dollar 7 or 8 days straight. Yields at their highs. So that's telling you something. Okay. So ATER was one we fiddled with. You know what? I'm going to bring these up. Is this accurate? Let's put these on the other while we're talking. So let's look at SMH real quick. So I'm going to show a couple of stocks I'm watching live right now. I'll drag this over for you. So before we do that, I got two questions this week about lumber and BDI. So lumber continues in this corrective mode, but it did bounce off these lows down here, right? So if you can get over here, but you can see that's a couple of things that shows you the oversupply and the over speculation of it. But that would be helpful given the higher interest rates. You can see here on the yield, clear break, and that's Mullen. We watched a little bit today with that one. It started to come to life. We haven't traded that for a while. Okay, let's look at what we traded today, right? So we traded the stocks we're talking about. Let me drag that up. There we go. So we're going to look at it's FBIO, right? So this is a stock. I think this is it. FBIO. No, that's not it. What's the symbol again? HBIO. Sorry.
FBIO.
Yeah, Fabio is something else. So this was a stock. That's not it either. So I'm going a bit senile in my old age, I think. Give me 1 sec. PHIO. I don't know why, as I told you, near the end of the week, those concussions carry on. There's so many stocks we trade during the day. So PHIO was a biotech that hit the radar around here. They had they made an announcement about a cancer cure. We actually were able to box some shorts in here, and then it ran all the way up to 270. And we actually used, because what we believed in this price action, A, we saw all the punters in it, but B, just the amount of volume and the action and the history of it. We took the opinion that very likely a secondary was going on, so we actually shorted it up here. And I actually got out just before the podcast. You held on to yours, right? So nicely.
Well, I went long, then I shorted it back at 50. I went long 55, then I flipped it out because I saw it going down, and I got short.
Nice. So just before we come on, we sold this. And so the thing is to watch the order flow, use your logic, use your experience, and it got to plus 2.8, right? See this? So that was kind of our target. And we noticed, then you tune into like different rooms, you see what people are talking about. So when the punters and dribblers are all over it and putting out extravagant targets, and you look at this, look at the negative divergence down here. So you know it's got less and less. And it's also Friday afternoon. So and we'll watch what that does on Monday. So let's see what that does. Now, the other one that's relevant to secondaries is the one we told you about yesterday we were mucking around in. I should write all these down, right? Because I logged off my... I logged off my screen there. So... what's the other one we traded? Just at the end there?
SFT.
Yeah, SBFT. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, let's tell you, this was a really nice trade, and I'll have Madavi walk through the rationale on this, what we did and why. So here's the stock live, and so we traded through the week. So this was a great trade, the way he did it, very well constructed, and this may give a good understanding of what goes on in these sort of speculative plays. Do you want to walk us through that?
Well, I've been trading this stock all week, and there's a pattern in these stocks that usually take off, and then at the end of the week they usually go down. You can't get short because usually they don't have any shorts available. So the only couple ways you can do it is either by selling calls or buying puts. On this one, I sold some calls at 40 and took the money from there. Then I bought the 29 puts and just rode it all the way down to the end of the day. And since I'll explain the premium stuff later. Just you follow the rest of the trade, mate.
Okay, yep. So basically, we couldn't get, and actually, as an adjunct to this, we noticed that they had some warrants. So if you go back when Donnie and all these guys would buy the warrants, we just took a tiny few of them overnight, like 200, just to see what would happen. They actually fell with the thing going up, but they rose in the morning, so we were able to get out of them. So the first lesson there, we knew well. What it told us was those people that got all those warrants were just selling the heck out of them, right? If you looked at the volume. In other words, they were taking the cash. So that was the first warning on that one. Secondly, then we go, okay, well, maybe we should short them. Remember, Madavi said you couldn't short SST, the main stock, but you could short these warrants, but it was 201%, which sounds a lot, but per day it's not a lot. But unfortunately, we didn't. We should. I mean, they fell like $1.20. We're talking $4.80 to $3.30 or something like that. So that's a good trade and a rational trade. You know what's going on. You know what the player's doing. It also told us if they're selling that, as Madavi said, then, and you got these two spikes, right? It was good to be short. You couldn't short it, so how do you do it? So obviously puts is the only way, or sell calls. So took the up in this spike this morning.
Selling calls can be really risky because the downside is unlimited.
Right. So personally, I didn't do the calls bit. Well, it's a lot more margin intensive because you're shorting a stock of a high risk, so they'll give you 100% margin. So that's per 1,000, 30,000 basically, right? But you do get the premium. Now, these were same day options, so that's also high risk because you've only got a day to be right. But we were convinced enough with end of week settlement to do it technically, and obviously it really started working when it did this number. See this spike? So around here's where we did it after we saw the spike, saw the red bar. So at the end of the day, here's the other thing, is that these were really wide. These were won by the end of the day as they got into the money. We did 29s. As they got into the money down here, 23, they were like $1.50 spread, and you couldn't get hit on the offer. I mean, between us a handful, right? If that. So at the end of the day, remember what you did. You sold in the money, so you were then short. This guy, whoever bought him, theoretically, was long at 29. You were short at 29, so you could buy the stock back, right? And they'll match off because they're same-day options, meaning they expired today. But that was a great trade, mate. Very great recognition, nice, and good discipline. It just sold off all through the day. So you'll see these quite often. And remember, your risk was what we paid. So the puts, I want to say, were $1.02. And at the end of the day, the ones we could get out of were like $5.80. And then there wasn't, I don't think there was a trade you pointed out over $6, even though it fell more than 6, right? So they're very thin. But what happens is when remember the old saying, buy puts when you don't have to? When we did them was in this green bit before it went red, right? So that's why we're able to do them.
My biggest trades has come on these ones.
Yeah. So when that we got, like I said here, no one wanted to buy them off us, right? But up here, this is, we'll sell puts, we want to get long. The opposite. So that's how you get those good positions. That was a really, really nice trade. So what was the other one that we traded? You traded. I did it right at the end, but SBFM. So this one here, we want to talk very similar to the one we just showed you, that HBIO with a secondary. So this ran up again, another biotech. So biotechs are high risk. So they're high risk. They're fast money. It's more a trader or a punter, basically. The dribbler sometimes gets caught in these, with all these theories, but they tend to be in, there isn't enough time for them to develop a BS story, basically. This one, we've come in today, and so here's what's interesting. So it was failing. So we expected it to come off much the same as SST, but this doesn't have my options, so that was out, and you couldn't short it. So basically nothing you could do. We just watched this. And then it crapped down. Actually, you did a little trade. You got hit here, and that little long trade. Yeah.
Or 590 or something.
Yeah, and then it popped up.
Then I did it again.
Yeah. So you can see where that was. That was this breakup level. That's where he's got it from. So nice little buy. But that was obviously, you want to see the base, which you got there. So this is a good example. People all fall in love. Oh, they got the cure for this, they got that. And the greatest dribbler comment, the market's short. Remember, if the only reason you buy a bloody stock because the market's short, you're in a hiding to nothing, right? because it's short. People are short it for a reason, and they've got bigger banks, right? So lo and behold, bang. And then and you look at this. This was dramatic. So what was happening? The news item that came out about here once was, and probably put there, was talking about a secondary. The report was dated today, but it was from a month ago, which is what actually got this going. Not a month. The start back here, start of the month. So that's they got money. So you can see what happens. It's going to be interesting how this plays out the next few days. This will either be done and take a long time to go back up again, or it'll develop another run. So these sort of stocks are very speculative, very punterish, and it's very fast money and know your risk, right? And you notice we had no interest in doing anything in this, and we couldn't do anything. And that's why something like SST, when it comes along, is kind of a gift from God, really. Having options and being able to do that, because that's really the only way you can do that. Unless you're at a fund that does naked shorts or something like that. I think that's all the stocks. Was there any more? Lithium, right? So we just did. This really didn't do anything. But so there was a report. There was a tweet, from the man of the hour, the Bob Marley wannabe, Elon Musk. Let's make this 5 minutes. So he reported about the shortage of lithium, which we all know, the shortage of refined lithium. There's plenty in the world, mines in Australia and all that. The US, pretty well everywhere, there's plenty of lithium. But it's like a rare earth, so it's very dirty. You got to be able to clean it. So he just made a comment that he was going to take matters in himself, refine it himself. So lithium stocks, mining stocks took a run for a minute. So we got it. We got it in this pullback, I think. We didn't really make much on it, 20, 30 cents. What was interesting is why we're showing it to you. As soon as it came on CNBC, it went up about 3 or 4 more cents, which was basically where we got out when we saw it not going, and then just sold off on that. So again, buy the rumor, sell the fact. But really, it was a 30-cent play. So it tells you there's a war of selling. So this is Snow Lake. It's actually an Australian IPO that mines in Canada using renewables, I believe. So there's obviously a lot of people caught in the IPO. So that just tells you there's a lot of overhead volume on it. There was other ones. This is the only one we traded. So you look at this. So keep that in mind. Of a lot of these stocks, particularly Dribbler Variant, there's a lot of them have so much overhead supply that we couldn't even get through here when you got the man of the hour and CNBC spooking it, basically, right? So it needs to get over that. Then you got all this up here. So just an interesting play. We weren't in it for long. Expected more from it. It was really a news play. And I think that's... the other one I wanted to show is Apple. So Apple's running the show as far as the Nasdaq and so look what it did today. And the reason it's struggling, it's all around 7/8. So if you recall, this was this beautiful trade, so we're correcting that. Now we're right. The reason we're humming here, this is our median line, right? This is Apple. So yesterday it couldn't really get away from 72.50, which is an options level. There's a gap down, by the way, to be filled. And today it even got under 170. So very, very weak. And that's why the SPOOs basically had problems, Nasdaq, because this and Microsoft are a massive percentage of everything, right? I think that's all we really need to look at. Anything else? We didn't go through energy. We'll go through that now.
It's through the PHIO. It's still going now.
Oh, let's have a good... Yeah, I should have just stayed short then, huh? Man, these... I hope you guys are liking these these podcasts because they're right near trading opportunities, and we try to be balanced, right? Not not trading while we're doing it. So I might be changing these. So if you do like it, please like it and subscribe to it to make it all worthwhile for everyone, including us. As he says, is he joking? No, he's not. Energy, where are you? Did I not bring that up? Oh, we do have it up. I'm going nuts. So, on Natgas, we'll do that first. This plus 3/8, that was a triple top, remember? And actually a little failed spit, so that gave you a great short. And we worked all the way back to the Cajun and the 50, and we're still sitting there. So was a very good technical short. Now, bear in mind, these are driven, yes, by weather models and everything, but speculation is the biggest thing. If ever there's a market, buy the rumour, sell the fact, it is Natgas. So if you look at the daily, there's that what I speak of. Remember, this spat this, and this level was also way back in 2009. Okay? So remember, as we spoke about last night, massive resistance, and it couldn't run. So once it can't run, bang. Okay? So is this it? A, B, C. This can be a B flat for the bears, so we'll see. On the weekly, there you go. You can see it more clearly, right? That's going to take a lot to keep going. And this now is higher than that, so this can be your fifth wave. So this is either the first of a fifth or fifth entirety, right? Fifth of the third. So you'd move this over here. Real simple stuff. Let's look at the mighty WTI. So again, we spat that Cajun. We got this double bottom in place, right? And this is pretty straightforward. 305, double bottom. Cajuns you play. Fundamentally, it's all about, obviously, Russia, production, ability to do it, COVID in China, SPR releases, all that good stuff. Make sure that's all on the website, so go check all that out with some really good people if you haven't already. And this is a market you want to deal with people that know, like all commodities. Don't listen to a bloody dribbler. Listen to people that trade this stuff for a living, and you'll get an understanding of what goes on, okay? Otherwise, it's just a matter of time, right? That sounds like a song. So the last 3 days, we got under that 50, couldn't get over it, right? Here's that double bottom on a daily basis. So to be bullish, we need to get above all this. It did recover from here with $6 or $7. So again, it's a question of this is 1, 2, right? 1, 2, like 1, 2 from the bull. So again, 5 or 3, right? Really simple. A shorter term one on that, sure. Okay, 240, there's that bottom, 94, right? Minus 2.8, so significant levels again, but we're not getting that impulse. But you do have this like a long bull flag, right? Potential. So you know what this can do. Double bottom, breaks over this 50. Keep it simple. And I think that's it, right? I think that's everything. So next week, be on the lookout for earnings are going to start up. The major banks will come out. They all had a big bounce today after getting the crap sold out of them yesterday. I want to say Goldman had a 52-week low yesterday. They recovered pretty well. You got the earnings season starts off next week. It starts off with the money center banks, JP Morgan and friends. So keep an eye on that. There's a lot of talk in those analysis meetings are going to be about the economy. And we want to see how much they made from trading, particularly bonds, fixed interest, and volumes in equity trading and stuff like that. Okay? So that's all from me. We'll do the weekly. Will come out sometime this weekend. So a great week's trading. Thank you, Madavi. Some great trades there, my friend, this week. Let's trust everyone had a great week, I believe. Let's hope you did. get out there, and if you like these podcasts, let us know. If you don't, let us know also. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And everyone, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy the sunshine out there. Don't worry too much. Remember, don't worry about the things you can't change, right? It's just going to bring you down. So enjoy a beer, drew a wine, whatever you do, exercise. You don't have to drink a beer, of course, but it had to be said. And à demain, Monday, Lundi. Bye.